Welcome back, everyone. I'm Zell, and today we're looking at the CRKT Amicus Compact. Alright guys, let's get a look at what we get here. This is a Jesper Voxnaes design, and it's a pretty good one. I kind of like about anything he designs. However, there are some drawbacks here, and we'll get into it. First off, we've got a G10 scale. It's got light texturing on it, nothing that's going to tear up your pockets or anything. A slightly oversized pivot that I rather like, and little itty-bitty, somewhat soft torque screws. And we have our backspacer here with kind of a stylized lanyard hole, somewhat hidden in the handle, somewhat not. Rolling it around to the back side, we get some jimping right across here, and there's our stop pin, and that's about it. Not a whole lot in there. And on around to the lock bar side, we've got Jesper's kind of, I don't know if you'd call it signature, but the way he does his lock bar reliefs, more of those soft screws all the way around, and that one isn't deep enough to actually get your tool in properly. And we have Jesper's style of pocket clip. I'm not a huge fan of this. However, on this knife, it works okay, and we'll get more into that. And if you look down through there, you can see that the knife is not too terribly well centered. I tried to order parts from CRKT to fix that, and it took them like 3 months to give me an email that says, we don't have the parts in stock, you can send the knife in. So, boo to Cricket for that. Big boo. They could have gotten back with me much quicker. They could have. I think they asked for my phone number. They definitely had my email address. They could have let me know something in a much more timely manner. Nothing on Jesper there. That's all on CRKT. One more thing about our handle. All this backside is stainless. Our backspacer stainless. So it's not a terribly light knife, coming in at 3.9 ounces. So for the blade length of 3 inches, it's a bit of a heavyweight. It's not as bad as it could have been if they had put stainless on this side as well, but it's not a lightweight by any means. And our closed length is 4.25 inches with a nice, pretty thin handle thickness of 0.41 and a fairly short height of 1.3. So those are really good. I like those numbers, except for that weight number for the blade length. And, you know, that's okay. That's all up to you. It may not impact you at all. But let's get this guy open and do some size comparison. And, of course, we have our Rat Model 1, and we have our Buck 110. And it weighs less, and it's smaller than both of those by quite a bit. And here's our Delica. And it weighs a lot more than a Delica. It is a heavier duty knife, but yeah, I don't know. The extra weight, I think, could go either way. I'm not a fan of it, although I'm a fan of this knife, and we'll get into that and why here real quick. But for now, let's get a look at this blade. And I guess that getting into the blade kind of starts it. Alright, so we have a very interesting blade shape that's very, very hard to get on camera. It's kind of a clip point, kind of a Tonto, but it's got a big belly. So I really don't know what to call it. We're going to call it a clip Tonto belly thing. Anyhow, I really like the blade. It gives you that straight edge up here. It gives you a nice belly. Really, really nice belly. And, of course, you've got your clip. It's just a nice blade. Got some nice swedging up here on the top of it. Very, very beautiful. I just love the blade on this little knife. Now, it is 3 inches long with a 2.85 inch cutting edge, and it's a 0.125 or 3.18 stock thickness. So, with the hollow grind, it's a pretty good slicer across here. And even with the flat grind up here, it's pretty nice. I like it. And it is 8CR13 MOV. That's kind of a bummer, but the price is only about $31, so, you know, you kind of got to deal with that. And our stock edge on this thing, you can see I've sharpened it. And the reason I sharpened it, and I probably should have did the video before I sharpened it, but I had those other problems with it, was the stock edge from CRKT was something close to awful. And I've seen some knives with worse, but this definitely wasn't good. It needed some help in a hurry. And, you know, that is one of those things that happens from time to time. It's not a consistent thing. Most of the time, even in that $30 price range, you don't get a great edge, but you get something that'll cut. So this one was just kind of an odd one out. And, you know, I've got a couple of those, but hey, guys, I see a lot more knives than most people do. So 2, maybe 3 out of several hundred knives is really not that big a deal. But anyhow, that is our blade, and from here, we're going to go to our pause and read card, and I'll be right back with you. Alright, our pivot in the mechanical end of this thing, we have a stainless steel lock bar, no insert because it's not needed, and a stainless detent ball. And it's stainless on stainless for our lockup, and as you can see down in there, it locks up good, it locks up solid, and we have a pivot with nylon washers, and they were, I don't have them out right now, but they were just ate up whenever the knife arrived. I took it apart to try to straighten things up, and those nylon washers were just all misshapen. They're still misshapen, and I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see kind of the tail end of one down in there. It was just awful. I don't know if they super over tightened the pivot at the factory or something, or what happened. But that was my major complaint, and I tried to get new ones before we did a review, and CRKT failed me. So that is the mechanical end of this knife, and you know, it works okay, but it would work so much better if we had good washers down in there. Now, it isn't a thumb flicker worth a dang. It does roll open real well, and you can spidey flick it. And thankfully you can do that with either hand, not a problem. Well, maybe if my left hand will work, I get my finger off the lock bar, and maybe that doesn't work. Well, try it again. So I know I did it earlier. Yeah, see, there we go. It's not real good in the left hand because you don't have any place to put your thumb, and then you get your thumb on the lock bar and it doesn't want to open. So maybe no spidey flicking with the left hand, but definitely with the right hand. And I probably should have done that before we did the video, but hey, you guys got it on screen and saw me goof up, right? Well, you can still thumb flick it right there, and thumb flicking with the left hand seems to work pretty good. Seems to work better than thumb flicking with the right hand. Anyhow, let's get this guy in the pocket and see what we get. And there we go. Down in the Levi's. And this is exactly why I'm not a fan of Mr. Voxnaes' pocket clip. It's not that we have a whole lot of knives sticking out, but we have a nice, very square edge here on a short knife. And the shorter the knife, the more knife I want down in the pocket. And it's just a thing. You know, on a long knife, and I think I've still got the Raptor XL out here. On a long knife, you could stick this much of the knife out of the pocket, and you still have a lot of knife down in there to keep that knife in your pocket. Whenever the knife gets shorter, you want as much down in there as you can to keep things from getting under the pocket clip and lifting that knife out of your pocket. And Jesper on these small knives leaves a lot of knife out, and that's rather square back there. And this for me is a knife that's a little bit too big and heavy to be a, well, maybe not too heavy, but a little bit too big to be a pocket floater, and too many squared off edges to be a pocket floater. So I would want to use the clip, and it's just not the greatest. Now, is it awful? Absolutely not. Now, and for $31, you're in good shape. And it is a spring steel clip, so you're going to be able to put it in just about any pants you've got without any problem. It's just going to expand to whatever you need. It does have a fairly good amount of tension. So, you know, overall, is it a bad clip? No. But it could have been better. We'll just put it that way. And going from there, let's take a look at ergonomics on this little guy. And I'm still having issues with flipping that thing. Bad day for me. Jesper is an intelligent man. We're just going to go with that. You see how simple the handle design is. And we've talked about simple handle design 100 times now. And it just works. Roll your hand around the knife and you're in there. There's no jimping anywhere except for back here. And that really doesn't do a whole lot for you. I think and it will a little bit, but a lot of this is aesthetic back here. But you're in good shape to make cuts. And I actually use this knife a lot because I really, really like this blade. And it cuts well. It works well. The only problem I've had with it is not any grip. I mean, any grip you get it in, you're in pretty good shape. Now, your reverse grip, that's too pointy right there for your reverse grip. And it's another one of those things. If you've got it in a reverse grip, though, it's going to hold you in there. So you may not want to practice with this knife, but in real life, it would be absolutely fine. But the only problem, like I said, I've had with this knife is whenever I open it up, I want to get it up here. I want a forward finger choil on this knife for whatever reason. It doesn't matter which hand I try to get it into. My hand just automatically wants that forward finger choil. And, see, there you go. So, maybe I'll make a forward finger choil. I don't know if it would make the blade look bad or not. I think I can pull it off without making it look bad, but it just really seems like it needs it, or my hands need it for this knife. See, there you go again. And it's probably just part of where my hands index after opening it with that flick, isn't it? Maybe so. But ergonomically, in your standard grip here, or any of your push or pull or pinch, this thing is good. That's one thing that Jesper's really good at, is keeping things simple and keeping a very good handle on things. I really wish, and I know, and I probably know more about the economics of all this knife stuff than most people, as far as production knives and mid-techs and even custom stuff. But I really wish that Jesper would make some kind of deal with CRKT or Kershaw or whoever he's going to work with, where we would see some of his knives with better materials. Because this is another one that I would like to see with better materials. It's got decent handle material, but I would like to see this in titanium, the backside, your lock side, and I would like to see some better blade material. Because it is a really good knife. Even though I fussed about the pocket clip, I do really like the knife, and I see CRKT just letting these knives sell by the thousands with the lower quality materials and never giving us the good stuff. I hope I'm wrong. I hope CRKT is listening, and on some of Jesper's designs, especially this one and the pillar, that we get some better materials. Anyhow, I'm off the rails here. Ergonomically, this thing is really good. I'm not a huge fan of where Jesper puts his blade hole, but with a little bit of use, you get accustomed to it, and it does keep the knife slimmer. That 1.3 height is kind of a big deal. Staying around 1.5 or less keeps you out of that pancake knife thing that Spyderco does quite often, and that's just a beautiful thing, although it does mean that you have to do a little learning with the knife to get it open and closed. It's not one you're just going to pick up and automatically know where to put your hands on it. Kind of like a 0452 from ZT. First time you pick one of those up and try to flip it, you're like, what the hell, it won't flip. And then you find those index spots on the handle, and you're like, oh, this is awesome. Somewhat similar here. First pick it up and you try to open it. If you have your finger on that lock bar, you're not going to get it open. But a few times, and you'll get it down. And then once you got that down, you'll be doing this, and you'll be very, very happy with the knife, except for the kind of high-riding simple pocket clip. Anyhow, guys, this has been the CRKT Amicus from Cricket and Jesper Voxnaes. Jesper makes some just wonderfully simplistic designs, and You guys know I like that. Keeping things simple. Got a little bit of fancy on the blade there, you know, with the flat grind at the tip and the hollow grind and the swedging. But overall, a very simplistic knife that I would like to see in some better materials. And if you are at all interested in one of these, I would love to tell you to try it, but if CRKT can't get me the parts, I can't say that. All I can tell you is I like the knife. I just wish I could get parts for it, or wish it had came perfect from the factory. And I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a few minutes and talking about the CRKT Amicus, Jesper Voxnaes design. And you guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.